Good evening and welcome to, I think we are on number 77. This is Tap Talk live from Malta. My name's Phil from Tap Water and this is number 77. And tonight we're going to be discussing endocrine disruptors. And we're going to go through what are they, where do they come from, not too much on the medical side because I am not a medical person nor a scientist or anything like that. But what I am interested in, and I hope you're interested in too, is contaminants inside plastic bottles, contaminants that we may ingest into our bodies and what it might do to us and what we can do to avoid that. So if you've joined us live, and I can see some of you have done, and thank you for that. It's nice not to be here alone. And if you've joined us, you can put comments and questions anytime you want on the various platforms. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and also on the StreamYard platform themselves, which you can get from our website. So you can put comments. It'd be nice to know where you're watching us from. Hopefully you're in Malta, and do pop in and just say hello if you would like to. That would be great. And so what are we going to be talking about tonight? Well, let's have a look at some of the slides that we've got. We just got a few, but basically what I did was I looked at some recent research. It's actually a year ago, so it's January 2023. And we looked at some research which is called a review of the endocrine disrupting effects of micro and nanoplastics and their associated chemicals in mammals, which of course includes us as human beings. And so what I was interested in was in January 2024, there was some interesting research from the University of Columbia about the amount of nanoplastics and microplastics that we find in plastic bottles. And we'll come to that in a minute. But then going back to this previous research, which was January 2023, it was interesting because the endocrine disruptors are actually transmitted around the body on the nanoplastics and microplastics. And that's what this research was saying originally. So if we have a look at this, this is the document that I read, which is quite a heavy document. There's quite a few pages on it. So I've been through all of that. And what I feel is my role is, what I feel is my role is to go through that particular document and we take a look at it and we try and come up with some really salient points that I can understand, which means hopefully you can understand it as well. So we're looking for sort of nothing too complicated, but we want to understand exactly what's going on here. So let's take a look at this is the article from January 2024, which is on our website. So you can get that by looking at our blog, which is on tapwater.mt/blog. This was an article where we went in depth into that recent research from Columbia University. And that research on Columbia University, which is on our blog, is quite interesting because it was saying that there are, according to their research, on average, around 250,000 nanoplastic particles, so nanoparticles, inside 1 litre of water inside a plastic bottle. Now, that is quite concerning. There is more research coming. In fact, it's now improving the amount of research we're getting on microplastics, and it's becoming more of a concern. So that was quite concerning in itself. But this research from before that, in January 2023, is about endocrine disruptors, and that's what we're talking about tonight. So first of all, what is an endocrine disruptor? Okay, well, very simply, the endocrine system, in the simpler way as I understand it, is the system that puts hormones or transmits hormones into the bloodstream in order that the hormones then take signals to other organs. Okay, so an endocrine system is for the functioning of the body efficiently, and we know that this is involved with the thyroid gland, the testes, the pituitary gland, and all sorts of things like that. So any disruption to that kind of system is going to be concerning. Now, an endocrine disruptor is a chemical that has some of the structural elements that are similar to what a hormone receptor is going to be looking for. So this is actually a chemical that isn't a hormone, that's kind of like pretending to be or looking like a hormone to our bodies, and therefore it's going to disrupt the system because it's not a hormone. Okay, so that's really what it's about. It's disruptive to our system, and we don't really want to be having too much of those in the body. Now, what this research said was the various EDCs, endocrine disrupting chemicals, okay, contained by the MPs microplastics, NPs nanoplastics. There's just microplastics are bigger than nanoplastics, nanoplastics very small, microplastics very small too. Now, they share structural similarities with specific hormone receptors, and they interfere with the normal running of the hormone receptors, altering the hormonal action of the endocrine glands. Now, the direct consequence of those is well documented. Okay, so we already know there's been previous years of research saying that endocrine disruptors have effects on the thyroid, testes, and ovaries, and that is well documented. So it is something that is of concern to us. Now, the endocrine disruptors themselves are, interestingly, from this research point of view, they are carried on the nanoplastics and the microplastics, and that's probably the new part of the research that I didn't know personally. And when you put that together with the fact that we now know there are lots of microplastics and nanoplastics in bottled water, that means that essentially this research could be saying that you are drinking endocrine disruptors when you drink water in plastic bottles. That's what it's really saying. So let's have a look at the next slide here. I think the numbers of chemicals, when we're talking about plastic bottles, we're talking about the additives used inside plastic to make the plastic bottles. So it's things like plasticizers and stuff like that, which makes the plastic flexible, and all sorts of other things. Now, 10,000 chemicals, this research was saying. 10,000 chemicals, and 2,400 of those 10,000 chemicals have been classified to detrimental to marine and terrestrial biota, us being the terrestrial biota. So that in itself is quite concerning. If plastic bottles contain around 10,000 different chemical additives, so all sorts of things such as plasticizers, UV, I think there's the UV, well, I'll read the list in a minute, I think I've got them on another slide, but there's all sorts of things in there. And there's 2,500 of those chemical compounds are of concern about endocrine disruptors. So that's quite concerning in itself. I did read some other research recently, last year, I think I read some research where they were looking at the chemicals in plastic bottles. And there was a lot of chemicals that they couldn't actually even identify. And I found that really surprising. This was some Danish research. And it's quite worrying, really. There were chemicals they could not even identify. They didn't know what they were, and yet they were still in these plastic bottles. Okay. Really what we're talking about is this, what was coined in this research as a Trojan horse effect. Again, this was a new term on me. I know what a Trojan horse is. We studied that in school. So a Trojan horse is something that is brought inside in disguise and then does something. In this case, it was an attack, a Trojan horse from the, was it the Greeks? Oh, that's embarrassing. I can't remember. Anyway, so the Trojan horse went inside the boundary walls, and then whoever was inside got attacked. So the Trojan horse is the nanoplastics and the microplastics, because what happens is they are spreading the chemical endocrine disruptors around the environment. In this case, they were called the Trojan horse effect in a marine environment, but it's the same thing if it's really in your body. Now, I find that quite interesting because it gives us a concept that we can think about and we can conceptualize in our minds, you know, something that is pretending to be something else, but it's not, and it gets into our bodies and then starts attacking things. It's like quite concerning when you think of it like that. But this wasn't my name. I didn't call it that. This was basically in the research that I was reading there. This Trojan horse effect of the microplastics and the nanoplastics being a Trojan horse and carrying these endocrine disruptors, which then causes or has been proven to cause issues or medical issues with the endocrine system. Now here's this big list of additives. All right, there are some names in here that I can't even say, but I found it quite interesting that the research sort of quite glibly in some respects says some of them are of serious concern. Well, you're telling me, really. I mean, these are words that I can't pronounce, but I think it's alkylyl phenyl, polybromide diphthenyl ethers, organotins, perfluorinated compounds, which are PFASs, dioxins, BPAs, and the odd heavy metals such as chromium, lead, and calcium. So this is the numbers that you can see there are all the references to the various various points. So approximately 1,000 chemicals classified as endocrine disruptors. And this also confirms what they actually do. They interfere with the synthesis, secretion, transmission of hormones, leading to developmental problems. Some people ask me, is filtered tap water any good for babies? And I think when you read research like this, I would certainly have difficulty thinking that bottled water was any better than any other system of water when you look at endocrine disruptors and what you might be giving your child. It would make me think very carefully about using bottled water for anybody. And I think this research is helping us to point us in that direction by raising alarm bells. So the other part of the research that I pinned down, this is actually the last slide, was the size of some of these microplastics. So the MP that you see there, that's microplastics. So 150 microns, that's actually, so it's saying microplastics are under the size of 150 microns can cause gastrointestinal, can cross the gastrointestinal tract. Now this was quite interesting. There has been some other research about microplastics and nanoplastics crossing the blood-brain barrier and also crossing the gastrointestinal tract. So these are quite large, 150 microns. So a human hair is on average 83 microns. So you can actually see that, can't you? And then 150 so below 150 microns can still cross the gastrointestinal tract. So those below 5 microns can accumulate in macrophages and carried to the blood circulation. I didn't actually know what a macrophage is, but I just read blood circulation and spleen, and that was enough for me to be concerned. So below 5 microns carried through the blood, and below 10 translocating from the gut to the circulatory system, so that's gut to blood, and accumulating in the kidney and brain. So below 10, there's some issues there between circulatory system, kidney and brain. Below 5, blood circulation. Below 150 from your digestive system and into the blood system. So now those sizes are actually quite concerning because 150 microns is actually quite big. 10 microns and 5 microns, yes, that's very small and not visible to the naked eye. But still, the fact that that's microplastic size, the fact that those microplastics can cross between the blood and brain barriers and the gut and blood system and also kidneys and spleen is obviously pointing to how efficiently microplastics and nanoplastics are transmitting things that we don't really want in our bodies around our bodies. So from this research, I read that the endocrine disruptor chemicals are absorbed and transported by the microplastics and the nanoplastics, but they don't bond to it. Now, if they bonded to it, it'd be more difficult to release them. It's more that they're carried on the microplastics, so they're sticking to it, for want of a better expression. And you'll have to excuse me if I'm not very scientific with that, but that's what I understood from the research. So where does this leave us? Well, first of all, it's certainly greatly concerning for bottled water. If you're drinking water out of plastic bottles, then it seems likely that you will be drinking endocrine disruptors as well as your 250,000 nanoparticles of plastic for every litre that you're drinking. So why would this be important to someone like me? Well, this would be important because I wouldn't want to be drinking that myself. So the alternative to not drinking plastic water out of plastic bottles is, of course, tap water. And tap water, if you get it straight from the kitchen mixer in your house, culturally here in Malta, we don't really like that because some of us won't be trusting it, and some of us don't think it tastes very nice. Now, it's interesting because if you go on Facebook and you ask the question, can you drink the tap water in Malta? Obviously, you'll get like 1,000 different replies, of which 500 will say, it's perfectly safe to do it, don't worry about it. And 500 will say, don't do it, it'll be the last thing you ever do. So I would say that the Malta tap water does conform to EU and WHO standards. But the way I would think about that in some respects, if you're concerned about water quality, is to think about it in terms of food. There is lots of food that we are told is safe. However, we're told that we probably shouldn't be eating it because of whatever reasons. And that's a bit the same with water. The tap water conforms to all standards, just like all the food on your supermarket shelves. But you wouldn't buy all of the food on your supermarket shelves because you know some of it's not very good for you. And that's the way I would present to think about tap water. Now, if you're concerned about the quality of tap water and you want to either improve the taste or you want to be sure that you're not getting contaminants in there, let's take endocrine disruptors, for instance, with sizes of microplastics from anything over 2 microns, which covers all of those that were in this research, then you would be filtering that from the water because a tap water filter filters everything between 1 and 2 microns and above. So what we use in the filters is an activated carbon block. Activated carbon made of coconut, and coconut's a renewable resource, and it's a highly efficient water filter. It has 2 types of filtration, which is both adsorption and also the pores. So adsorption means it's got a very high surface area, so contaminants stick to it. In the same way as the microplastics actually are moving endocrine disruptors around your body, it's called adsorption. So the coconut, the activated carbon itself, which looks somewhat like this inside. So this is an activated carbon block. And the carbon block itself is hydrophobic, so it like repels water and it attracts the contaminants. So therefore, it's going to take out a lot of the contaminants that are going to stick to it. That's how the chlorine comes out, actually. And then there's the porosity of the filter itself, so things are passing through it. And anything above 1 or 2 microns, which includes all of those microplastics we mentioned in this study, are going to be filtered out of the water. Now, I'm going to show you a tap water filter here. I have a kitchen mixer, it just so happens, right here. So let's show what actually happens with a tap water filter. So it fits to the kitchen mixer. Now, why does it fit to the kitchen mixer? Well, that's where the water's coming out, and it's quite interesting because it's filtering it at the very last point of delivery before you drink it. So can't quite get the site that in the right place there, but that's quite interesting. So you take a kitchen mixer like this, and then it's really easy to fit. You just take the aerator out. Now this is probably this style of mixer is probably about 85 to 90% of all mixers in Malta. So this is what's known as an M24 aerator. It's pretty much a standard size, even if your mixer didn't look exactly like this. So let's have a look at this a little bit closer. Here's the aerator inside here. We just thread it back in again. So here's the aerator, here's the normal mixer, up and down, hot and cold, and you just remove the aerator like that, and I would keep this little washer here. So this aerator you probably want to keep. And these water filters are really good if you're renting a house, for instance, because you would be able to take it with you. You just take it to another mixer. And we supply a little adapter like this. So if you keep your washer on top here, and then you pop the adapter in here, nice metal adapter, pop that on there, and then ta-da, a water filter. Okay, so this is actually the Echo Pro. Now, this filter is what we would use for families or, well, any size of household, but definitely families of 3 or more. So this will do 1,200 litres of water over a 3-month period. So the filter itself is actually contained inside here. I'm going to take that out in a minute. First thing I'm going to do is pop it on the kitchen mixer for us. So to fix it onto the kitchen mixer, you're just attaching it onto the adapter that we supplied you. And in Malta, I carry about 30 different types of adapter. And those 30 different types of adapters are good for the 10% of mixers that are a little bit different than this absolutely standard flying mixer that we've got here tonight. So here it is fixed. You've got a switch it like that, and water will come out here, and like this, and water will come out here. So this is washing water, and this is your filtered drinking water, which has passed through the filter, which is inside here. Here's the filter. We just remove it like that, and this is a filter inside a casing. Let's just have a look at this. This is the filter inside the casing. What I like about this one is the filter is inside the casing, so you're only throwing away this. So this is an activated carbon block. This is what we dispose of every 3 months. There's hardly any plastic on it. There's just a top and a bottom on it. There's hardly any plastic on it, so we keep reusing the casing. And in fact, since this design was brought in a couple of years ago where we reused the casing, that's 85% less plastic being thrown away. So it's not like some of those other filters that you can see around, especially in particular jug filters, for instance, where you get a big lump of plastic that only lasts 150 litres and you throw that away every single month, right? This is going to last you 3 months and has 10 times the capacity of one of those. So it's a lot of water over a 3-month period. So this is good for any size of household, up to about 6 people. And even small offices. We have some in the small offices as well. So up to about sort of 10 people, something like that. So there's the Echo Pro. And we have another one, which is very good for 1 or 2 people in a household. And this is called the Echo Pro. This is called the Echo Pro Compact. So it's the same as this one, except it's smaller. And you can see it's smaller. So the capacity of this one is, let me just take it off. This Echo Pro comes in two separate parts. So you've got the valve and the housing. This is really useful for changing the filter and stuff like that. And it's really useful for demonstrating as well, because this is the Echo Pro. So I can just swap this over. And now we've got the Echo Pro inside. So this is the Echo Pro. The Echo Pro is great for 1 or 2 people in a household. This filter will give you 300 litres of filtered drinking water. So this is the filter inside here. Here's the filter. This will give you 300 litres of drinking water. And there's no casing in it, which makes it even more sustainable than the larger Echo Pro. And once again, it's exactly the same. You've got the switch here. If you want to change from normal washing water is through here, and then you switch like that, and then you've got filtered water through here. If you're watching tonight, I can see some more of you have joined us. If you'd like to make any comments or ask any questions, please do make comments and ask questions, and I'll be able to answer them. I should be able to see them now, because now I'm looking. So please do ask any questions, or even say who you are and where you're from. That'd be great. Thank you. So this is the Echo Pro, and we also have another version, which is the Echo Pro in Chrome. So if I just take this one off, we can swap it to the Echo Pro in Chrome. So this is great for 1 or 2 people in a household. It'll do 300 litres of water from one filter. And you can see how easy it is to attach to your kitchen mixer. So it's also nice and easy to move. If you ever move house, it's really easy to take with you. So this is the switch. And if you switch like this, then the water is going to come out of here. And then if you put the switch down here, if you put the switch down on here, the water is going to come out of here. That's normal washing water. And then when you switch like that, this is the filtered water that's coming out of here. So the filter is contained inside. There's no housing with this. It goes directly into the system. And this filter, you can see this one has been used. So it's a little bit darker than the one I had before. Let me show you that one. You can see the difference between a used filter and an unused filter. So there's a difference between a used one and an unused one. You can see how it gets discolored as it filters. So that's the Echo Pro Chrome. And the nice thing is the government will give you 40% grant on these water filters. So they'll give you 40% back of your first year cost, which is really useful. I am just struggling to get the filter in because I'm looking at it upside down. But let me take that off. And I'm going to show you some filters now. So let me get that out of the way. So I'm going to show you the filters and what's in them. So this is an activated carbon block. That's what's actually inside the filter. So that's what's actually inside. So you can see it's got a polypropylene layer on the outside, and it's got a filter on the inside. And then you can hear that sound is some beads. And what they do is they handle the lime scale, so you don't get all that gunk in your kettle. So this is what a filter looks like when it's been used. And here's a new one. We can have a look at the Echo Pro. So here's a comparison between a used filter and an unused filter. And you can see the kind of color that it goes. That's quite normal for Malta, depending on the areas. But for instance, I think in The deepest color that I've got so far, I think, was Baumler when I picked up a filter from someone because it was such a good color. And we wanted to show that one. So this is quite normal. You'd expect it to be lighter in more sort of central areas. But getting to this color is quite common from both sort of sand and rust and other contaminants like that. The smaller filter, which is the Echo Pro, this filter here, that's what's inside it. You can see it's the same sort of thing. It's the activated carbon block inside. This is a solid block, so it's very efficient at filtering. And though the Echo Pro Compact will deliver about 300 litres of water. So that is about it from me tonight. If you've got any questions or comments, this is your last chance to ask them. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. I hope you found out some more interesting information about endocrine disruptors and understand a little bit more about how they will be in the bottled water that you're drinking, and an alternative solution to consider if you'd like to stop drinking bottled water. Thank you very much for joining me.